guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains, North Carolina, and today we've got something new to play with. Looking forward to this. So my Toyota T100 has had a Cobra 18 WXST2, I think it is. It's a really great front-firing little CB radio that I picked up so many years ago and had that installed in the double DIN setup. I've been using that for years with a 102 steel whip. It's, you know, the 102 steel whip is like the ultimate antenna for CB radio mobile installs anyway. So what I'm going to be doing today is I've got a bunch of upgrades and side grades and just refreshing, because like I said, I've had that truck now many years and some of this stuff's getting a little old. I've got in this two 102 steel whip antennas. I'll do a separate video on 102 steel whip antennas here, and we'll get into the whys and hows and how to set one up if you decide to buy one. But I've got one of those to replace the one that's on there. It's lost its static ball on the top, and it's actually for stainless steel. It's got some rust on it, so it's been up. I've had that thing for at least 25 years. It's time for that to go. So we're going to be replacing it with that. I've also got a brand new steel spring for the CB antenna install. That is the metal ball at the bottom there, that spring that you're going to need to have if you want to use one of these things. And because the one that's on there is very rusted out. I don't remember where I picked that up. And I'm going to be installing the President Walker 2 CB radio into that double DIN slot. So I'm going to be replacing the radio, the antenna, the ball, and we'll of course retune the radio, and we'll go through the whole thing. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of the, well, I've already got it out of the box, but let's go ahead and get into the car. We'll take the radio out and we will begin the process of swapping it out for this. I do have an external speaker. I'm going to try it mounted back in there. I want to see how it sounds, but if it sounds muffled because it's kind of blocked, because this is not a front firing speaker, I'll run a speaker wire out, and I have an external speaker for it. But it does fit, theoretically it should fit there. Now it's a little longer than a double DIN radio or a single DIN radio because it has the heatsink on the back, so I have to be mindful of that, but I think we'll be able to make it work. For right now though, let's go ahead and pull this bezel off and get this out. Alright, so I've got my old radio set up here on the bench, and the first thing I want to check, I'm fairly confident, it is DIN size, but I'm fairly confident that the President will fit, but I want to see the depth here. So I've got the President here. I'm going to lay these two side by side. Yeah, look at that. Perfect. So the heatsink does stick out, but it doesn't stick out any further than that does on the other model, so that's going to work out just fine. So let me go ahead, I'll unscrew this. Hopefully we can get some spots to plug this thing. It looks like it's going to line up perfectly. Yahoo to that. And we'll be putting this thing back in no time. And before we part ways with this guy, I'd like to point out that this radio, a lot of people gave the Cobra 18 some gruff when it came out. They said it was cheap, whatever. And it does. There are some models that have some issues, but I will say that's 8 years of service in the vehicle, and I've never had any issues with this particular model. So I've been happy with it. Also, you know, this is not a pro level, I guess, if there is such a thing, CB, but it did talk well. I mean, people liked it, and of course some of that might have been the fact that it was hooked to a 102 whip, but I always got good sound reports on that. So if you're interested in a front firing speaker CB radio, I can't say that I would rule out owning one of those. I know, like I said, they do get a bad rap online, but my personal experience hasn't been bad at all.
So let's go ahead and get our new radio plugged in. There's our top. So we want to make sure we're facing the right direction. And that's what she's going to look like, which I think is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and see if we can line up any of these. Oh, what a shame. Nope, but that's okay because there's always a backup plan. And all you have to do in the case of this is zip ties. So I'm going to grab a bunch of zip ties. We'll zip around this thing to hold it all together. And the same end result will have occurred. One thing I've definitely noticed with modern cars, you better learn to be creative if you want to get a clean install. There's really no room underneath dashes anymore. Heck, it's getting to be. There's no room on top of a dash anymore for those that like to hook them up on top. You just don't see flat top dashes anymore. So you have to get a little bit creative. There we go. And there it is. It's ready to go back in. That wasn't so hard. So next, I'm going to plug this thing in, power it up, but I want to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm going to be checking my SWRs both with an analog meter and with the onboard digital meter before going any further. But this won't take a whole lot longer to get back in. Okay, with the radio on channel 1, I'm going to key the mic and I'm going to calibrate my SWR meter. Okay, and then I'm going to move it over to SWR and let's see where we're at. 1.1. Okay, that's a 102 steel whip. That is beautiful. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn to channel 40 down here because we want to see how it does on the whole arc. I'm going to go back to calibrate, key down again. Then we'll switch over to SWR. Oh my gosh, it's almost a flat 1. That's awesome. That is beyond awesome. That is the best you can hope to get for a 102 whip. Sometimes with location, if you put them on a rear bumper or whatnot, you might run into issues, but it's beautiful. It is beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead, unhook this, and I'll be ready to put this radio back in. It's just a matter of trying to slide it all back into place. Got to hook my radio back up. Okay, and there's the antenna for that. Hopefully, there we go. All right, and tuck our wires in. A little bit of luck. It'll all fit back into place. And look at that. It does. Right on. So tighten all this down. Just a few screws left to put back in, really. There we go. It's still a little loose, but when I put the cover on, that should tighten her up. That's it. There it goes. There it goes. There it goes. And now it's really firmed up, right? Nice and tight. So the next and last thing to check here, well, two things left to check. I want to check the SWR again, but I also want to check the volume because this is a bottom firing speaker. There isn't a whole lot going on underneath there, but still, if it's going to be a problem, I can always mount an external speaker right down here in the floorboard area. I'm not hearing any reason why I can't just leave that set up just the way it is. So that's gonna wrap it up. Oh, well, I guess I'll do my SWR test again here. Let me go ahead and turn it on channel 1. Okay. And then push his function. And we want to there we go. It's giving us a 1.5. Great. So let me, we'll get out of that. I'll go ahead and turn it off, and we'll do the same thing on channel 40. Isn't it amazing how they give different readings? As long as both of them are within the happy range, I'm happy. Okay, so it's 1.6. I'm happy with both those. Right on. That's it, boys and girls. I'm Eric, the owner of Farpoint Farms. Hope you enjoyed this install of the President 2 FCC Walker Edition, and I will definitely be doing a range test with this, so we'll make that a part 4, I guess. But this matched with the 102 steel whip, I cannot imagine that it won't be a really good combo. Till next time, folks, take care.
There's always something that needs a little fixing on Farpoint Farms. Freedom is mighty sweet. Liberty sows its seed at Farpoint.